Tensions keep escalating in Minneapolis in the wake of an ICE agent shooting and killing Renee Good last week. And now President Trump is threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act, a rarely used law which could put U.S. troops on city streets, even though state leaders say they never asked for that kind of help. At stake this morning, where is the line drawn between federal authority and local control, and who ultimately decides when law enforcement crosses it? Here to help us understand all this is Dr. Thaddeus Johnson, an assistant professor in Georgia State's Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. Before that, though, he spent a long career in local law enforcement, so the perfect person to talk to this morning. Thad, I guess we'll start with this difference between federal agents and local police. You know, when it comes to boots on the ground, how should we understand about how those roles differ?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing, and first of all, thank you, Dan, for having me this morning, this conversation. So first, let me say, when you think about local matters, whether it's traffic control, whether it's public safety in communities, community building, this has generally been a local matter. You've had federal task force where the local and the feds have worked together, and that has led to beautiful outcomes when it comes for our communities. But when they start talking about patrolling our city streets and our state highways, that's starting to look a little bit different. It's a little bit different than what we've ever seen. So none of what we've seen as when it comes to the federal government, whether it's gang ties, whether it's with firearms, whether it was drugs or things crossing state lines, you've seen them work together, and they generally handle those things that fall at their purview on their property. But this is kind of moving to places that this is unprecedented in what we've seen, because again, even the task force is usually led by local authorities and supported by the federal government.
And now, speaking of unprecedented, there's talk of the president possibly invoking the Insurrection Act. The last time that was used back in 1992 during the LA riots. So, I mean, how is using the military for law enforcement fundamentally different from using police officers or the National Guard? How could that really change the situation there in Minnesota?
Well, one thing, they don't have the training for urban policing in particularly. They're not trained in particularly in doing traffic control. They're not a traffic control agency, so making stops for running red lights or tags and things of that nature. And so also when you bring the military in, it breeds fear in the community that already has a fragile relationship with law enforcement in many times. And so when you start to bring them in, people start to not cooperate with law enforcement. They don't know if the local law enforcement is in control or if the actual federal government is in control. When they call 911, who's going to answer the phone, right? And so usually you can see the military come in with National Guard to help support with protests. We saw that in Atlanta before, but never so where you have 3,000 federal officers who 3 or 4 times the size of the local police department. Again, I keep using the word unprecedented, but this is definitely what it is. And this is the thing, the military and federal authorities will leave at some point, and it's gonna hollow out that relationship. It's gonna hollow out the authority and undermine the authority of the local leaders long after the military is gone. So it's gonna be a lot of stuff left in the wake that often the federal government won't have to deal with.
You know, it's interesting in Minneapolis. They had to help repair relationships between police and the community after George Floyd. And how will this change things? It's going to be something interesting to watch. Thad, I'd love to have you back at some point to talk about that. I mean, we could spend hours. I appreciate your time this morning, as always.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.